Hello there. Welcome to the Stokvel Voice podcast. Today we'll be talking about Stokvels and retirement planning. This is the platform where we have conversations about Stokvels, especially when it comes to wealth creation for themselves. It is all about wealth and wisdom. Today our guest is James Wiles. James is one of those people who do not only talk about Stokvels, but he's extremely passionate about educating the youth and Stokvels in general about savings and investments. Welcome, James.
Welcome, thanks.
And once more, thank you for always availing yourself to our different Stokvel conversations platforms where we educate people about how to manage their money better, but over and above, how to create wealth for themselves as Stokvel members. Can you please give us a brief background about yourself professionally and Stokvel-wise?
Yes, sure. Okay, so professionally, I'm a portfolio manager and financial advisor for PSG Wealth. And Stokvel-wise, I'm actually belonging to a Stokvel where a group of my friends and I got together and we started a little Stokvel in Soweto, in White City, and we called it ourselves Kenzavest. There's about 8 of us. We're chipping in about 50 Rand a month and we're investing in shares on the JSE. And the main purpose is to educate ourselves about share ownership, about investing and how to work with money. And every now and then we make some good profits too. So that's
and
always good.
And you also go to Chisanyama, I suppose.
Yes.
There can't be a Stokvel in the township Ekasi without some pap and fleis. Eh?
Yep. That's an important part of Stokvels actually. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the community and getting people together and holding each other accountable. So that's important.
That's cool. James, let me just share a bit of my frustration regarding Stokvels when it comes to this topic today. I actually joined my first Stokvel when I was about 24 years old. And I really have fond memories, about my more than 30 years journey as a Stokvel member. I do have a few things that I brag about in my house, some nice crockery stuff that I bought, using my Stokvel savings money. That's great. I do also have one of my favorite Stokvels that I brag about because 20 years ago, we invested in property, actually it's a retirement home in one of the prestigious holiday resorts in Mpumalanga. But what I'm not happy about is that throughout these years, having belonged to about 2 or 3 Stokvels, I don't remember us having a conversation about retirement. And today I'm sitting here, I'm actually 60 years plus, and you know my story. And I'm saying, my good gracious, if I had this kind of a conversation or I'd listened to this podcast, I think besides the few things that I can brag about, I would almost be sitting pretty cool in terms of my retirement. Yeah, so let's just have a chat about that.
Absolutely. So the way I'm going to break it down for you is there's a very simple principle with regards to your working life and then retiring. And that's while you're working, you should be earning an income, and some of that income goes towards expenses, the expenses of living. So transport, rent, food, all that kind of stuff. And an important motto that I always say is it's not how much you make, but it's how much you keep that's important. So while you're working, let's say between the age of 20 to 60, you want to keep as much of what you're earning as possible one side and to try and invest that.
So the key word is how much you keep.
Yes, of course.
Noted.
And the reason why you put some money aside is because at some point your ability to still keep earning an income is going to diminish. So as you get older, you might not be able to work as longer hours. You might be in a job that requires you to step down after a certain time period. So apart from relying on your family, it's best to have some kind of backup plan that's going to provide an income for you during your later years. And the way you do that is if you start from 20 years, the age of 20, and you put a little bit of money away, each and every month. Ideally between 15 to 20%. Not all of it for retirement, but you want to save about 20% of whatever you earn. That's optimum. Then by
Can
the
we
time
just
you're
just
60,
just just to chat in there? One of the things that I've realized, I mean, I'm listening to you now, and it sounds fairly simple, but I have a feeling that this financial language can be very complex. It starts young at age 24, and and then as it goes on deeper and deeper, there is a level of complexity. And I think our listeners out there, yes, they probably know what retirement is. They probably understand what savings start young. What's your view about that?
look, the most important thing, if you were to get one tip from this, is the emotional side of learning how to save. I think that's the most important thing. All the technical stuff you can learn later, but the discipline of putting a little bit of money away every single month that can grow, that you're not spending now, that's for when you're 50 or 60 or
So
70.
discipline is key to master.
Discipline's the most
Yes.
important thing. Even if you're just saving it, ideally when you've grown up this little savings account to maybe 10, 20, 30,000 or however much money, you can then start getting a financial advisor involved, and you can say, look, I've saved up this little bit of kitty, can you start advising me? And then they'll go through a plan. They'll tell you how to invest it properly. They'll say how much you can put in every month, what kind of growth to expect, and then you can start getting people that can assist you with this journey. So the most important thing is to decide that it is important to save for retirement, and then to actively start the discipline. And a nice thing about this is to do it incrementally. So don't start with 20% of your salary. You're not gonna.
That's where I want us
Yeah.
to get into that, because when you start putting percentage, 5-10%, let's just get to the basics. Yeah.
Start with 1%.
Yeah.
Literally, just whatever you're earning, take 1% of that, put it away. And
If I'm earning, my net is 10,000 rands a month.
Yeah.
After all the deductions, tax and UIF and all that stuff, I clear 10,000 rands. Your advice is
take 100 rand, put it away.
cool.
$100, that's like 3 beers a month or something.
Gee, yeah.
It's not that difficult, and it's not going to get you very far, 100 rand either. But the point
Okay.
is, then you've created a system that you can ramp up. It's like scaling, So you start with 1%, and then you make it 2%, 4%, 10%, and before you know it, you can actually start putting away a decent amount of money every month.
No, I like earlier on you mentioned discipline, and I think let's go back. It's like fitness. They say don't try and run a marathon, comrades, if you not disciplined even just to walk around the block.
Absolutely.
So am I correct to say probably the same principle?
Absolutely.
Baby steps, start small.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Start small and get the form a habit. I think that's another way to describe it is once you got that savings habit going, then it becomes easier, because you've set up this system of putting a little bit of money away, and then you just follow through with it. And you'll do well over time. And the idea is you want to build up this capital, because that's what's gonna keep the income flowing. When you no longer can work for yourself, you can start digging down into that capital to provide an income for you. And that's what ties back into retirement, is that this savings habit is what's going to allow you to not depend on your family when you're in your old
The
age.
black tax.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, I was actually reading one of your articles in our magazine, the Stokvel Voice magazine, and you actually touched on that one of the most important things is that our lifespan has increased. So meaning that we live longer, and there are chances that you may find yourself depending on your family, and the family itself is also struggling.
People struggle to conceptualize these things. I mean, to give you a bit of a scary statistic, the first person that's going to live to 200 years old has already been born.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about that, let's say everyone you've ever known probably will live till their 80s, 90s, something like that. But because age spans are getting longer and longer, by the time you're that age, the norm will probably be 100, 120 years maybe. it's like inflation. It's difficult to think about because it's these numbers that are a little bit abstract. So to break it down for you, working till 60 is not enough anymore. It's as simple as that.
That's why I'm still sitting here. I'm 60 plus, but I'm still working.
I'll tell you something interesting. This concept of retirement was started in the industrial revolution in those days, and it was because most people worked in factories, and their ability to physically work, there was sort of a cap on that, and health wasn't that good in those days. So they created this concept of retirement. You put something away, and then at one day you say, okay, right, I'm stopping to work and I'm just going to live off what I've saved up. But it's a relatively old school concept. I think today people shouldn't worry about just stopping work one day. Try and keep yourself busy. Try and stay working. Do something on the side. Have a little business or a little kind of entrepreneurial venture on the side that's going to keep you active. Not just because it's going to allow you to earn a little bit of additional money, but it keeps your mind active as well, which is very good.
Young people, do you find that really, I know you've just mentioned now the scary part of probably living up to the age of 200 years. I can't imagine that, but anyway, do you find that do they have to bother about this retirement because they still have many, many, many years to catch up, having not put away that 10%, we are young, we're energetic, and you've just mentioned now, do other things. In the township, we say, you're doing, this and that.
Okay.
So why bother about this retirement thing if I can catch up?
No, absolutely. You don't need to bother. You can always catch up, Just remember that it becomes more and more difficult to catch up. It's if you start behind the curve, then to get back in front becomes harder the shorter time span you have to invest. And it's not about catching up, it's about forming the habits. It's about doing the right thing with your money.
Back to the habit and discipline.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, it doesn't need to be a lot of money. It just needs to be something there that you're starting out from as young as possible. But I understand the temptations. I mean, it's a reality even in our little Stokvel where people are caught up in the moment. And I think one of the emotional aspects which I'm quite passionate about, because as a financial advisor, one of our biggest jobs is to handle the emotional aspect of looking after your money. Because if it's your own money, you get scared when it drops in value, and you get a bit greedy if it goes too much high in value. So having that advisor who's applying the right principles to your money for you without you making rash decisions is very powerful. So one of these emotional aspects is to say, wait, hold on, let me think, what was I going to say?
Maybe we need to get psychologists to come to our Stokvels and get our emotions in line with our savings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, okay, what I was going to say is humans have this tendency to think sometimes too short term. So pushing out your idea of what's going to happen into a longer term time frame starts making these ideas of saving now quite relevant. Because if let's give you a couple of examples. If you're just worrying about what's happening this weekend, you're going to have like a couple $100. You're concerned about where the party's going to be. You're going to have enough money for a few beers. That's it. Come Monday, doesn't matter how much.
You start again, and you're going to Mashonisa, and the next thing, it's month end. Your debt is piling 100%. Up. Yeah.
So one of the foundational aspects of financial planning is setting goals, and you have a short-term goal, a medium-term goal, and a long-term goal. And short-term could be maybe saving for something at the end of the year. Going on holiday or saving up for some Christmas bonuses or something like that, some Christmas presents. Medium term will be like 3 to 5 years, maybe saving for a deposit on a house or a car or something like that. Long term is anything more than 7, 10, 12 years. And part of long term planning is retirement planning. So just to push out your horizon and your vision to say, look, there is something beyond next week. There's who I'm going to be and where I want to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time. And formulating that vision is going to help you make these decisions now. Because then you say, look, I really want to be somewhere better than I am now. And if I don't start saving, I'm going to be somewhere worse. And it makes that discipline so much easier because now you have a goal that you're trying to achieve. So you're saving towards something specific. It's not just saving for saving's sake.
I'm happy that you touched on that, because my next question was going to be, my gripe about the financial services sector when it comes to stokvels. We talk about groceries and saving for groceries and partnering with major retail stores. And I'll just be specific. One of the one that is on public domain, it's ABSA and Pick and Pay. They've now come up with a nice stokvel package for stokvels that buy groceries. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in buying groceries. We all need food, But there seems to be more focus on this, and it falls under short term, in my view. And you also get the notorious burial. Everybody has got to have a burial of gain. We need to bury our beloved ones, decently and all that. But there seems to be just more focus on that. And of course, the latest one, the new kid in the block, savings account, no transaction fee and all that, Yeah. Would you agree with me that not much is being done to actually take stokvels to the higher level, especially your medium, long term? Yeah.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And look, there's a place for short-term saving and short-term investing, because number one, if you are brand new to saving, then the first thing is to save something, whether it grows or not, whether it's short-term or not. Just putting something away that you're not spending everything every month is important. Then it's these things of getting money together where you can buy things in bulk and get discounts and that kind of thing. But once again, it's just whatever you've saved being spent on something. The next thing I want stokvels to start paying attention to is to invest the money, to start actually getting your money to work for you. Instead of you working for your money and then spending it all. It's like a one-to-one relationship.
Okay, tell us more about that. Can you just
Yeah,
elaborate
100%.
on that? Yeah.
So if you can start investing and putting money away, then what happens is that investment is start going to earning its own money. So if
is that a compound interest?
That's it. Einstein said that compounding interest is one of the most powerful forces of nature, because what happens is if your money grows by 10% this year, next year it's going to grow by 10% on top of the 10% it grew last year. And the longer you leave it to do that, eventually it's just going to start growing by itself. And if you do this enough and you save for long enough, you could have your money making more money than what you could do working, which is quite a profound aspect. So if you earn 100,000 a year, but you've managed to save R1 million, then your R1 million is going to earn you 100,000 rand a year as well.
Okay.
So
that's why I said it's one of the 8 wonders of the world. It is really, an amazing concept.
Let me give you some numbers here. I did this calculation before I arrived, and what I said is if you've got a stokvel of 10 members, and they each put away 100 rand a month, and they invest it.
That comes to 1,000 rand a month.
1,000 rand a month, 12,000 rand a year.
What?
Okay. And they invest this money. And if they can get 12% growth, which is achievable in high equity funds and in products that with low fees with the right advisor, you get...
Sorry, just hold on there. Entry point to these fancy things, equity, because if yes, we are saving 100 rands a month, 10 of us, we will just walk into the nearest branch shopping center and that's it. Finish and klar.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I did 2 calculations here. So the first calculation I did was if you went the bank route, just took it to a normal savings account, money market, something like that. Let's say for argument's sake you get 6%. Okay, 6% interest per year. If you invest it properly and you invest in things like property, high yielding bonds, corporate government debt and shares on the JSE and even unit trusts and things like this, just make sure you're doing it properly with the right people, and I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But you should be able to get probably double that, what you could get at the bank over time on average. It's a bit more volatile, but if we're talking long term, you could probably get 12%. And here's the results. So that 100 rand per member per month, after 20 years, if you had gone to the bank, you would have saved up about 440,000. It's not too bad.
After 20 years. Now, James, that's not right. I've been in stokvels for more than 30 years. Imagine if I'd listened to you in 1980 something when, anyway, proceed.
All right. If you had invested that properly, it would be worth 1 million rand.
Okay.
So that's a big difference. And that difference is by properly investing your money over time. And you push that out, and it's not linear. So if you save for just another 10 years, it's going to be well over 3 million rand. It's not another 2 million. It compounds. It gets more and more the longer you leave it. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get people to think about, is this long-term concept, and letting your money work for you doesn't reward you short-term. It doesn't reward you in 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, even 10 years. You're going to get decent growth. Once you start investing 10, 15 years, yes, you're really going to be in a good place.
But you know what? It goes back again, keywords, the habit and discipline, because it sounds very simple, straightforward, 100 rands per month and times 12, and, but come end of the year, we all look at each other and say, guys, it has been a great year. Let's go partying, which is what happens, with stock funds. And that's one of the reasons why I feel that we need to have more of these conversations, because at the end of the year, we look at our muscles and say, gee, we are okay now, not knowing that we can actually be stronger and stronger by just extending that a year more, 2 years, 3 years, and so forth.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, maybe it's something like peer pressure or something. If everyone around you is doing it, then it should be fun that you're doing it too. And I say, no, learn more about finance, learn more about economics, about investing. Have a financial advisor. Financial advisors are approachable. You can approach any of the well-known guys that speak on the radio or at any of the big brokerages in South Africa, because they also care about people investing. They'll give you the advice, and just have somebody else apart from just your circle of friends and influence who probably don't have the skills that you're trying to develop. Spend time listening, go on YouTube, and you actually will end up spending time in,
as they say, knowledge is power.
Yeah, with people that will express the importance of investing properly over the long term.
You'll tell me if I'm right. One of my favorite when coming to that point, because most of the Stokvels in general, let's accept it, they do save. They do use one of their major banks. But I find it quite odd that they don't use the banks enough to say, please, can you send someone to come and advise us about this world of banking? Other than the fact that we have a nice fat bank balance, which is unfortunately the situation with most of the stock funds. They are content with the fact that they just say, we've got X amount, and they don't actually. Do you think banks, our traditional banks, could be useful? You mentioned brokers and all that. Looking at the
I've got a principle when it comes to that, and my principle is that you want to bank with a bank. You want to insure with an insurance company. And you want to invest with an investment company.
Wow. Okay. Bank with a bank, and insure with an insurance company, and
invest with an investment company.
Wow.
As soon as you start mixing those things up, you're going to get unintended consequences. A bank is conservative by nature, so they're not going to grow your investments enough. An insurance company is based on policies. So an investment that's a policy, you're going to end up paying for fees and all kinds of nonsense in there that's not just about investing.
Wow.
An investment company will and only sell you investments where the advantage there is that the cost to invest is going to be a lot less. The fees and the charges and all that kind of stuff is going to be a lot less. The funds that are available to you are much broader. So you can get funds that are ideal for your risk profile and for the time horizon that you want to invest in. So that's what I tell a lot of people.
I love that.
Look, traditionally, banks is probably the number one starting point because almost everyone has a bank account.
Yes, the entry point into this world or this savings, of money,
Exactly.
Definitely, yeah.
And then the next thing is insurance, because insurance companies in South Africa have been prolific, especially in the, let's say, more rural areas and especially in townships when it comes to funeral policies and that kind of thing. And by default, the person that sells you an insurance policy is probably going to have a little savings account for you as well. Investments is the thing that's probably the final frontier when it comes to these previously disadvantaged areas or the upcoming economy, where the incentive previously hasn't been that big, because a lot of the time then they wanted you to have a lot of money before they'd start advising you. And the reason for that is because they don't make commission, they don't take upfront charges. Ideally, you want to deal with an investment advisor that isn't taking any money from you upfront and has the incentives aligned with you. So they only make money when you start making money as well. And that's why they often need a little bit more funds before they start advising you. But if you can pull your money together and you can get a Stokvel of quite a few people, maybe 5, 10, 15 people to pull their money together, then those investment advisors will start listening to you, and it will be to their advantage to actually start looking after you properly.
Thank you. Just to wrap up, coming back to our topic for this session, which is Stokvels and retirement, meaning that if we can understand this investment aspect of the money world, definitely we will be much more ready to retire, because it all revolves around investing, for different things. But I think retirement,
absolutely,
it's definitely one of. Yeah.
I'll give you a last sort of tip. When it comes to investing and that aspect, there's 3 things you need to remember. The first thing and the starting point would be the advisor, the person who's going to be advising you.
Okay.
And they have a fee that they're going to charge, and they have a strategy for you.
Okay.
The next thing is going to be the platform. So that will be one of the big investment platforms in South Africa, like Alan Gray, Investec, Coronation, all those types of people.
Okay.
And they're going to administer the fund. And what's important with the platform is that it can either be a retirement annuity structure, it can be a unit trust structure, it can be an endowment, there's a pension fund, provident fund, there's different structures that are different tax aspects. So that's the next thing. The final thing is how the money is actually going to grow. And that's determined by what the underlying funds are. And the funds have asset managers. Once again, the big asset managers in South Africa, like Prudential, Coronation, Alan Gray, Investec, Fort, all those kinds of guys. And what they do is they take the money, they invest in shares, property, bonds, and cash, and they make sure that the money actually grows. So if you have those 3 combinations and they're all charging you a decent fee, and it's the right investments with the right tax plan and a good advisor, you'll be fine.
You know what? Time is a monster. I would really love us to expand on these 3 things that you've just mentioned, because to me they are quite key, especially when it comes to, again, individual Stokvel members. Because what happens is, yes, we save as a group for a group goal, but I want to believe retirement, it tends to be very personal.
Absolutely. And I think a very important thing we need to talk about next time is also people being taken advantage of with scams and pyramid schemes and things like this. Because all these things I'm talking about sounds fantastic, and it can be wrapped in something that could be a scam. So how to make sure that you get in the right advice and the right people involved there. Because I think that's also a reason why people haven't been saving that much, is because it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more abstract and technical. So it's easy for people to be taken advantage of when it comes to these sorts of things.
Definitely.
That's why they just go for the banks, because
it's much safer, so to speak.
Let's talk about that.
But again, we need to start young, develop the habit and discipline, and it's all about wealth and wisdom. Thank you very much,
My
James.
pleasure. Thank you.